How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have a story time for you that my friend told me about this time that this TikTok girl in his class basically embarrassed herself on Zoom during the Zoom class for him. So this story took place about like a year ago when he was still doing Zoom classes. And basically, man, she did what I was terrified of. She did something while she forgot her mic was not muted. Oh boy. And unless you guys want your mic to be not muted when you think it is next time you're in a Zoom class, subscribe to the channel with notifications on. Make sure to turn on those notifications or you won't see my stories otherwise. And also, for a very limited time, I'm feeling extra generous. So if you leave a like in the video, I will give you nothing. Yeah, I'll give you nothing at all if you leave a like. I know, super generous of me. With that being said, let's get into the story. So this all happened about a year ago. My friend was in Zoom class and this was his English class, right? And in his class, he had this girl, and let's call this girl, what should we call her? Let's call this girl Lily, right? So Lily was a big fan of TikTok, right? She was posting multiple times every single day. Like Charlie D'Amelio was her idol in the sense that like, you can kind of post videos that are not too complicated and you have a chance of getting really famous and making a lot of money. And she just thought that was really cool. And honestly, like that part alone, I'm not going to knock the hustle, like that's totally fine, right? And she was posting every single day. And she was posting so much that people in her class kind of knew her as the TikTok girl. And she also didn't have like no followers at all. If you guys don't know, if you're on TikTok, you can just like kind of post enough. There's always a chance like you'll have videos go viral. Like I have a lot of friends that aren't necessarily like famous on TikTok. Like they might only have a couple thousand followers, but they all kind of had a video go viral at one point. But that's kind of because they kept on posting, and TikTok will sometimes just randomly award videos, but that's not the point of this video. So she had a couple videos go viral, and that only kind of like encouraged her to post more and more because she's like, okay, I had something hit 100,000 views, right? Let me just keep posting. Like, let me just keep on posting and posting, right? And the thing about TikTok is like, yeah, it doesn't take a ton of time to make, especially compared to like, I don't know, Twitch streaming or a YouTube channel or something. But, you know, it still takes a decent amount of time to make, especially if you're really thinking about your TikToks. Point that she started making TikToks in class. And obviously, right, guys, if you're in class, do your best to pay attention. I'm not going to fault you if you're not always 100% paying attention, but it's good to do well in school. Like, life gets easier most of the time if you do that. So just in general, don't do what this TikTok girl was doing. But basically, she started spending a lot of time in her classes making TikToks. Right, so since this was an English class that they were in, what they basically did most of the time was they read something. Either they were reading a book or maybe they read a short excerpt, and they'd have kind of like a round table type discussion, right? So, and especially like over Zoom, you can't have a round table because you're not sitting at a table, right? So what they would end up doing is, you know, they'd read it and then they'd unmute their mic and then they would speak about it and then they'd mute their mic and then it would kind of like go like that. And it wasn't necessarily you weren't really called on. You kind of just spoke when you wanted to. And, you know, you try to get some time in because the class participation was part of your grade, yada, yada. You guys know how the class works. You guys all took Zoom classes. You know what I mean. Anyways, right, so Lily, the TikTok girl, had been making a lot of TikToks. And for the most part, she had been doing it, you know, pretty nonchalantly. What she would do is, for the most part, the class was like you were encouraged to have your camera on. But the thing was, it wasn't required for you to have your camera on. You could definitely like turn your camera off and be muted. And while, you know, the teacher obviously wanted you to like look like you're paying more attention, it wasn't strictly enforced. So what Lily would do is she would just be muted and have her camera off, and then she would just go ahead and make TikToks while the class was going. Right, so one day they had a pretty big reading to do, and they did the reading more or less throughout the week, and the thing was that like Lily wasn't really participating in class, because the thing is, if you have your mic muted and your camera off, what she also did was she also turned down the volume, because when she was making a TikTok, the volume from the Zoom class would have been caught in the background, and then that would have interfered with her TikToks. So she was basically not even attending the classes. It just looked as if she was. So she did get a note from her teacher. This is what one of her friends told my friend who gave me the story. That she basically got a message from her teacher saying that she needs to start participating more, as the fact that she doesn't really say anything in class has and will continue to affect her grade negatively unless she changes her behavior. So basically, they had a pretty big reading coming up, and it was a pretty big deal that everyone speak on it. So Lily was like deciding to be actually like partaking in the class for once, right? So she joins the class, and my friend is like has to recall this because he doesn't necessarily realize something is going to go wrong until it does, right? So apparently she joins the class. So when she joins the class, she still joins with her camera off and her mic muted. But basically is she just doesn't want to have her camera on, but what she'll do is she'll listen into the class, she'll wait for her turn to like speak about the reading, she'll unmute her mic, and then she'll say something, and then she'll go about her day, right? So anyways, class starts, people start saying stuff about the book, my friend says something, he does a pretty good job, at least that's what he told me. I can't really confirm that, guys, but anyways, right, so my friend speaks, teacher's like, all right, that's a good thing to say, and then eventually you see Lily's avatar in the mic goes from muted to unmuted, and she speaks, and she obviously did read the book. Like, she did realize that her grades were going to suffer a little bit. As much as she did like TikTok, she still also liked having decent enough grades. So what she did do, she actually did read it, right? So she does a pretty good job with the presentation, right? Things are totally fine. She says a thing or two, and yeah, and then she just goes back, and one thing that like my friend notices is that the mute, like her mic doesn't go from like not muted to muted. It just stays not muted, right? But she stops speaking and someone else speaks. And the thing is, like most of the time, at least on Zoom classes, even if you're 100% paying attention, even if your camera was on, which mine was, right, you just mute it afterwards just in case you had a noise in the background or your mom called you, or for some reason you just didn't want to interrupt if you didn't have something to say, right? So most people who had been actually paying attention in Zoom class and actually been doing it would have known right away to just go ahead and mute their mic. But the thing is, Lily had just not been paying attention at all, so it was kind of out of her habit to re-mute her mic, since once she joined the class, she instantly muted her mic or kept it mute. So do you guys know how when like you speak on Zoom class, you're kind of like, the picture kind of like there's a light that goes around it if your camera isn't on, like it's like it kind of like lights up a little bit. I think I'm describing it kind of poorly, but I think you guys know what I mean. Like you can see who's talking even if their camera is off. So basically, someone else started talking about the book. They were giving like what their interpretation was, and then my friend notices that Lily's light, he hears a sound, and he notices that Lily's light, like her profile pic or whatever, starts to glow a little bit, or however I'm trying to describe it looking when like you're talking, right? So he's already like, oh no. All right, guys, so I'm going to interrupt the story for a second. If you made it this far into the video, I want you to go down below and comment window. So if you guys don't know, I normally have you guys comment door if you made it this far into the video, but every once in a while, I do want to mix it up to see if people actually do watch to like pretty much the end or the climax of the story. So comment window down below, and don't be fooled. Don't comment door, guys. If you see someone commenting door, they didn't actually make it this far. Don't be mean to them. They have the right intentions, but I do want to see who actually made it this far. So comment window down below in the comment section if you made it this far. That being said, let's jump right into the story because, oh my God, it's getting juicy. So basically where we left off was that Lily presented something as she had not done normally in class. And Lily's known for making TikToks, but she never really got caught in class because she just stayed in class muted, right? So for the first time, really, she did present something, and then she forgot to mute her mic. And then while someone else was speaking, my friend notices like sound starting to come from her, like her kind of her section, and her voice thing starts lighting up. So basically what happens is, I don't know how to describe this without getting demonetized. So you think of like a Cardi B song, and think of like popular Cardi B songs on TikTok, like a lot of trends like that. Those weren't very family friendly, PG clean, right? Just imagine the most not family friendly one. Yeah, think of that one. That was the one. So Lily thought that like her mic was muted, so she had no issue kind of like taking the TikTok sound and putting it to full volume, and also having it on her phone, which was very close to the computer. So basically the song plays through once, and my friend is just like, oh no, right? Like, oh no. And the thing is, at first, like the person who was speaking, who was giving kind of like the presentation part, stopped speaking for a second because like obviously it's a little bit awkward. And the thing is, the teacher didn't say anything right away because sometimes people will occasionally have sounds go off in the background. It's a little bit embarrassing, but most of the time they'll just self-correct it themselves, and then just like it's not a big deal. Here's the problem, right? Lily wasn't just doing the sound once to record the TikTok. She was learning the sound, bro. That means she had to listen to it again and again and again. So then, right, my friend is sitting there like, oh boy, like that was a little awkward. But then he hears it again, right? Lily's thing like lights up again, and the Cardi B sound comes on again. And by the way, you can like that music. That's totally fine. I'm just saying like this was like a class, bro. Like, It was also in class. It's just not totally the music you want to be blasting, especially when you're not supposed to be having any music on at all. Like, I'm just saying, dude. Right, so her teacher basically speaks up and she's like, hey, Lily, like, can you turn that off, please? But here's the thing. What Lily normally did and what she remembered to do when she forgot to mute her mic is she basically turned down the volume of the Zoom class all the way so that, it wouldn't be disturbing to her when she was making her TikTok or listening to her TikTok or anything like that, right? So Lily was in class right now with her mic unmuted as well. She couldn't hear anything and her camera was off. So she just kept playing the sound again and again and again. And the whole class was like, oh no, dude. Because like, while it was embarrassing, they mostly just felt bad for her. Because like, she wasn't a bad person. She wasn't mean or anything. She had good intentions, bro. She was nice to people. And it was just like unfortunate because they knew exactly what was going on. So eventually the teacher realizes that Lily can't hear him because he keeps saying, hey, Lily, can you turn that off? Like, Lily, turn that off. Like, we don't want to hear this anymore. Please turn that off. We can all hear you. So eventually he actually realizes like, oh, okay, she can't hear me, right? And at this point, it's super embarrassing. So what he does is he sends her, on Zoom, there's like messages. And thankfully, Lily was kind of paying attention to her screen to notice that a message popped up saying, you're unmuted. Oh my God, those must have been like the worst words to hear because she was well aware that she was just like playing the song again and again, right? She was well aware, dude. It was a tough moment, right? So what Lily does is instead of like being like, oh, my fault, she felt so embarrassed, she just exited the Zoom class. Like my friend was sitting there, he kind of like, he saw that his teacher said like, oh, I'll just send her a message, guys, like don't worry about this. So he saw the teacher type. He saw like it waited a couple seconds, waited a couple more seconds for like Lily to read it, and then boom, she was out. Like she dropped out of the class. And for like a second, the whole class was kind of just sitting there like, what just happened? What? But anyways, right, they just go along with their day. And the next day in class, because they had class the next day, Lily came to class. And guess what? Her camera was on, her mic was not muted, and she was sitting there attentive, and she was very attentive in class afterwards, and she never once again came into class with her mic muted or her camera off. So we can only imagine that at this point she still kept on posting TikToks, but she stopped posting them in class, which honestly was probably a good call. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy today's video and want to support the channel, just go ahead and watch another one of my videos. You can either click on my channel or you can click on the videos on screen right now. And if you want to watch more storytime videos, in the description there's a playlist of the story times. As well, in the top right corner, I think it'll pop up a playlist of the story times, and maybe on screen too. So yeah, go ahead and watch those. I appreciate you guys so much, and see you in the next one. Peace.